anyways, it is just a small chapter. So, we are, it's really, I think, amazing that we have a few people joining in from around the world. And yeah, that's pretty fantastic. So, guys, we're just going to get started in a minute or two. And meanwhile, I'll introduce myself. So my name is Heather Shishmahal, and I'm leading the Transformative Tech chapter in Islamabad. And this is the first time that there is something like this happening in Islamabad. And although we have a few people from our country who did take part in the academy this year, and there were a few people who took part in the academy last year as well, mainly a few people from the universities spread out around the country, and I have invited them, and I'm really excited to see you guys. So Sadi, I think I'm going to start. So now can you see me and the PowerPoint? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Kisal. All right, so yes, there we go. All right, so our meeting today is basically the launch of the Transformative Tech Islamabad chapter. Before this, we had one talk at the Games Emerge conference, which was at the end of February, I think around February 22nd or 23rd, where I talked about games and transformative technology. Now, this is the first time after that, because of the lockdown, we weren't really able to meet. But the good thing is that because it is online, it's interesting in the sense that we do have people joining us from Lahore and from Karachi and maybe other places. Well, I'll see afterwards who all joined and didn't join. So that's really interesting that it's not just in Islamabad right now. We've got it in the rest of the country as well. So this is the agenda for today's kind of meeting is basically to first explain what is transformative technology, and then to also start networking amongst each other, because right now, most of us, even I myself, working on games which you could categorize as transformative technology, had no idea that there was this term or what it meant and what it doesn't mean. So only it was after October 2019, after attending the academy, that I learned about what it means. So let's take a moment. Let's basically find our center. So just gonna have like breathe in, breathe out, and kind of look inside. Take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Continue breathing in and breathing out. And let's just focus at like the thoughts that are buzzing in our head, and let's push those aside for a second to be really present. Feel our bodies, feel ourselves sitting on this chair. And while you're breathing in and out, start looking at your center and trying to determine why it is that you're interested in being in this meeting or being in part of the transformative technology, and how you hope to help others and yourself through this. All right. So when you guys are ready, let's start it. So I'm going to define the transformative technology, and it's very interesting that a lot of people, including those of us who are part of the transformative technology industry, sometimes have to really think about something. Is it a technology? Is it a transformative technology, or is it not a transformative technology? And according to the guidebook that we have, so the definition that the global chapter or the global leaders of this movement are saying is that if you're using technology to increase well-being, if you're using it to develop self-awareness or resilience, or to increase joy, increase calm, or make you a more present person or a better person, elevate your consciousness or your intelligence, or it helps transform your life to make your life kind of better in any way. And then if you're using some technology product to do that, then it's considered transformative technology. And being in the education sector and also being in the counseling and psychotherapy, so a lot of the work that we do in education and that we do in psychotherapy is also transformative, but there's no technology element in that. So if we're talking to someone and coaching them or teaching them, but we aren't using some third thing, then it's probably not going to be categorized as transformative technology. The main question though arises is that is and this is my personal sort of definition, which I was sharing with some of the members on WhatsApp because we were having some conversations and some calls prior to this. And so I'm going to share some examples. The local example in Pakistan, which I really point to as being an example for transformative technology, is Wonder Tree. And Wonder Tree is, they used the Xbox Kinect, and then they modified it to work with the PC, and they've been using it for people who have developmental challenges or other types of challenges, neurodevelopmental or physical, to help teach people to learn and move, especially those who are having, not succeeding with the traditional sort of school and not being included in the traditional education. So they brought about this technology. So that's really the one company that really I say is dead on transformative technology. But the other things, of course, are guided meditation. And also, interestingly, if you're trying to make something in an office space to support a better organizational culture. So, we always talk about how those Google has those pods where you can go and rest in a gym or something like that. But if you were to introduce some kind of calm space in an office, some kind of a green space, maybe it has some sound or some music or any kind of sort of integration of technology, that is also considered to be part of the transformative technology, at least in my opinion. And of course, globally, they're doing things which are a lot more cutting edge, which includes using the mobile camera to look at your eyes, biosignaling, to help alert that there is, maybe there's a seizure that or a heart attack or something like that. And these days, of course, the camera is being used to track whether somebody has the flu or COVID. I don't know whether you would call that transformative technology, but if it was used in a better way, maybe 6 months down the road, maybe it could have some of those. You could add some of those elements. One that I found very interesting was the Pavlok, which was basically like a bracelet which shocks you if you use social media too much or if you smoke. So there is some really out of the box things when it comes to transformative tech. And also I want to tell the people in our chapter that even if you're just designing the art or the animations or the curriculum to that gets used in a software that might be helping to prevent Alzheimer's or making a game that increases cognitive functioning or helps people feel relaxed. So it's not necessarily that you have to be an engineer to be working on transformative technology, because there are a lot of other roles, including the community support, including the business development, and all of that geared towards transformative tech and your interest in supporting other people who are working in transformative technology. So the big question is transformative technology always electronic? And this was a video from the Academy in 2019, which is a 5-week program, which happens every year. And obviously, I hope that members here are going to join this year to that program because it's very good. And if you see the picture on the top left, the people are dancing around the fire, and that these are often transformative experiences that many cultures practice. And the speaker, Jeffrey, what he was talking about was that the flicker rate of the flame had something to do with it. So it was not just the dancers, and it was not just that they were maybe using some substance or some substances thrown in the fire, but it's also for the participants outside the circle just looking at the flicker of the fire, which happens at 10 hertz, it has some transformative elements. So, technology, I would say, doesn't necessarily, definitely does not have to be electronic. And I remember talking to my grandmother and was talking about, the first automaton, which, showed up in Europe, which was like wound up and there was a robot and it danced. And I was telling her that, that was the first, automated machine or robot or something like that. And she said, well, there's been machines that helped us play bridge much, much before that. So it's interesting that it doesn't have to be electronic to be considered a technology. There are analog technologies and there are other types of objects. So for me, generally, I think that if there is some kind of object, like I would consider fire to be one of the earliest technologies of humankind. But generally speaking, globally, when people talk about transformative technology, they do mean that it does have an electronic component. So it is like a rule of thumb that generally today, if you were to talk about transformative technology, people would think that you mean that it has some electric component, whether it has a microchip or uses power or something along those lines, whether it's a software or something that, it has some kind of hardware or software component. But strictly speaking, not all technology, of course, has to be electronic. And the really interesting conversation I had yesterday, and I was trying to with a member, I don't know if he's present today, Yasser Billu, uh, and he uses Lego for serious play, and he was telling me the different ways that he's transforming people's lives using Lego and activities. And I was trying to figure out, would you consider that to be transformative technology or not? Because there is a third thing, there is an operation, there is a Lego there, but there is an activity. So my thing to Yasser or somebody who's thinking along those lines is that how could you make it a little bit more obvious that there is a technological component to that? Is there any computer or machine operated, or any even just an application which has your activities going? I would say then it would be less of a gray area for me. So that's interesting. I do consider it to be transformative technology. I don't know who else would. So sometimes it kind of depends on your opinion, but definitely it's not just talking to someone or teaching someone or doing therapy or book learning. We wouldn't consider that normally to be a transformative technology. Now this is a little kind of motivation that I wanted to share with our local chapter. This is a picture of a Sindhi wheel. So you can imagine the Sindhi wheel is coming from Sindh, and this has been reported in the year 1206. And the source of this is Professor Salim Al-Hassani, who is leading a movement called 1001 Inventions, where he is basically talking about all, when people say that, there was the ancient era of the Greeks and the Romans, and then there was the Dark Ages, and then there was the Renaissance. But he talks about what actually there was going on. The Dark Ages were perhaps there for Europe, but in this side of the world, it wasn't a dark age at that time. In fact, there was between 700 to 1300. There was a lot of inventions that were made, and the reason I'm showing this is because I want us to think in Pakistan that what are we thinking about when it comes to using technology? So why technology? Because it's scalable. The good thing about technology is that you make something, and whether 10 people use it or whether 100,000 people use it, there's often not a big change. And when you deploy something, for example, to the Google Play Store, you would be happier actually if millions of people used it. So it was scalable. And when it comes to our local community, one thing that I've been interested in is that I see a lot of guided meditation and some really fantastic apps that build your emotional intelligence or help you to stop smoking or help you to reduce weight. But they're all completely English based, and the recipes and everything is just there's so many cultural components which are not geared towards our local or our regional culture, which is the South Asian culture, which is India, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Iran, Afghanistan. A lot of these places, a lot of these things, in our region, we aren't really developing applications that speak to us or that use our language or our ideas or our culture. And what I want to say is that, we do have all the capability, and a lot of the people who are here today, you guys are some of the best and the brightest that are there, whether present today or whether on the Facebook group. And I want us to start, thinking about what it is that you guys think that we can do to contribute, not just globally, but also to look at a contribution, as they say, by us, for us, or for us, by us, FUBU, as it is. Now here's some more kind of ideation, and then I think after this we're just going to network and talk with each other. And this is also taken from Nicole Bradford from the Transformative Technology Academy of 2019. And if you see here on the top left, I mean, this is all kind of like old news. Internet has been there for a very long time. And the emerging industries, of course, include, nanotechnology and robotics and blockchain and drones. But as we go forward, if we start thinking, past the next 3-5 years, if we start looking at 2040, or if we start looking at 2050, we know that climate change is going to be a big issue in Pakistan, because we are one of the most vulnerable countries, and especially, Karachi and the southern part of the country, and of course the glaciers in the northern part. So if we look past the 3-5 years, and if you look at the next 10-20 years, if you see in the middle here 5 generations of workers, so we might be, one of those generations in this side. It is, we do have a lot of 3 and 4 generations even living in the same house, but we don't really haven't seen 5 generations, and of workers means that everybody's still working, so that they aren't even retired. And with health going the way it is, how are we thinking about those things? How are we thinking about urban density? How are we thinking about well-being? How are we thinking about the future of work, or the future basics, the emotional intelligence, and how are we building that? And I know that, Zainab is here and Kisal is here, and I myself, all of us, we're working in technology and education and psychology. And I think that, this is the platform where we can start thinking about collaborating and mapping our ecosystem and motivating and getting together and working on these technologies which are scalable and can lead to abundance in well-being and thriving. So there one last slide, which is a little bit about the global transformative tech ecosystem. They have a conference every year, and it's they have an academy that's been running for the last 2 years, which goes through, I mean, amazing speakers, the people who are making some of the really interesting apps. They come on and they'll tell you exactly what challenges they faced and what they were trying to do, what went right, what went wrong, and how you can do the same. So it's access to a lot of mentors, and way down the road, maybe even investors. Right now, I think the conversation I had yesterday is that we're still on phase 1, so we're trying to right now just launch this industry. But these guys, have they're very interesting people. There are I'm going to share links with you guys, and you'll see that around the world there are chapters, not just in Pakistan. There are people here today from chapters around the world. I attended a meeting yesterday from the Paris chapter, and there are a lot of events happening like this online, in addition to the academy, which is a 5-week program. So we are part of the community, which is city chapters. Now there are 24 chapters, including Islamabad, and there are 12 salons worldwide. And yeah, so that's it from me. Now I want to hear from everyone else on who's here, and I want to hear about just a short introduction, because I might know you, but other people might not know you. And I want you to think of other people that you think would benefit from being part of our chapter and community and the work we're trying to do. And just introduce yourself quickly in a minute, and share in a minute or two any idea that you have, or sort of transformative technology thing that you are working on or that you would like to work on, and any other comments. Right. So, would anyone like to?
Hi. Hi, my name is Simeon Scaramuzino. I'm the lead of Transformative Tech Milan, and I just did yesterday a webinar on genetics and how genetics can help us go through times of crisis. And most likely the next one will be on the same wavelength. I'm working on it, and I'll keep you posted. And thank you for your introduction tonight.
Oh, thank
Thanks.
you, Simon. That was really lovely. I mean, please do share the link. I think that would be really interesting thing to look for. And
Absolutely. With pleasure.
yeah, and also I think we can always post these webinars on our Transformative Tech local chapter as well if other people would be interested to watch these. And I just want to introduce myself. I think it would be a good idea if we can all introduce ourselves one by one, and that way we can like talk more about our ideas. So I'm Sadia Bashir. I'm running Pixel Art Games Academy in Pakistan. It's Pakistan's first training academy for video game development. I've been running this academy for past 4 years. And apart from trainings and workshops that we do in-house and with universities as well, we also develop our own products. So we have been working on a gamification of tourism for past 2 years. So we recently have launched an app called Travel Dost. It's a location-based augmented reality uh, app which is help you to enjoy and add a lot more value to your travel experience, I would say. And that's all about me. And I would really love to hear other people's introductions as well.
Allison?
Hi, everyone. My name is Allison. I am a biomechanical engineer by education, and I've been working in patent law for the past few years. I've also been supporting Simeone with the creation of the events for the Milan chapter, and I'm generally just looking forward to networking with other people in the TransTech community, the global community.
Thank you. Kenneth? Kenneth, you there? All right. Hisal?
Yeah, my name is Mohammad Qasal Ahmed, and I work for Amal Academy. We are a non-profit organization, Stanford funded. Basically, we work for professional development training for recent graduates coming out of colleges. And so our use of technology has mostly been traditional, um, around networking and connecting students to each other. Nothing too fancy, nothing VR or augmented reality related. But I'm just here to see what other people are doing and perhaps learn a few things to use.
Thank you, Hisal. And we have Rick. Rick, have you?
Good evening, folks. My name is Rick Leander, and I'm dialing in from Winston-Salem, North Carolina in the United States. My day job is managing director of LFB Holdings. We're a behavioral economics consultancy that works with a lot of both established firms and startups to help them shape their environment so that they do a better job of connecting with customers and with employees. My part-time job is co-lead of the North Carolina chapter of Transformative Technologies. So we, like many of you, we are in the early stages of creating a chapter here in North Carolina. And so I've been trying to patch into a lot of these calls virtually to find out what other chapters are doing and just getting connected. So really glad to get connected with you guys today.
Thanks, Rick.
Really nice to meet you.
And Zainab?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi. Hi, everyone. First of all, Heather, thanks a lot for telling me about this. It's really, it's been so informative just listening to everything you had to say because I was totally walking into this blind. Based on my work and my interest, continuing interest in adolescent mental health, which is something I've worked in for, well, 10 years at the school level. It's something I've studied as well. So I think one thing which is slightly different for me as compared to all these amazing people on this call right now is that I have very little experience working with technology. I mean, I have a lot of experience working with edtech, but not that much with, well, transformative tech. But I really like that this has such a broad definition. And I think what I'm trying to kind of get out of this is to figure out, Heather, what you said about cultural contextualization of all of these apps and services, super important. My work right now is I teach, but I am also working at an INGO, particularly on a program that works on public education for girls in secondary schools. And the greatest constraint that I have realized and I continue to have is that there's no electronic tech accessible in public schools whatsoever.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's such a giant need for it, and the public education space really needs people to come in and find low-cost alternatives. And I feel like this definition of transformative technology is so wonderful because it kind of makes me think about how I could do that without necessarily having to have electric access or digital access. So anyway, that's sorry, that was a bit long, huh?
No,
But that's what I'm thinking along the lines of. And it's really great to meet everybody, and super also awesome to reconnect with Heather and with Kisal. And really lovely to meet everyone else too. Right? But
Thank you, Zainab. Really good to meet you as well.
and
yeah, same.
Omer, can you give a short introduction of yourself? Omer, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. So my name is Umair Zah. I'm currently about to graduate from Lums University with bachelor's in economics. I'm actually an intern at Pixel Art Games Academy. I'm basically a technology and curriculum manager, and I hope to learn a lot about transformative tech from people who are much more expert, who have much more expertise in it than myself.
All right. So thank you everyone for the introductions. And since we have a little bit of time left for in our meeting, I want to share one of the things that I've been trying to work on before the lockdown started, which was basically an application that does guided meditation and in Urdu and in the regional languages. I was very interested in trying to do it in Punjabi as well, and that's one of the things that I'm interested in. And the other thing is that other than this mobile application, which has these features, one of the primary ones being guided meditations and bringing mindfulness in our local languages, and the other has been gamification of psychology, psychiatry, and neuroscience. So those are the two kind of things that I've been working on for a while and very passionate about. And I hope that we'll share this recording and that the rest of our community is going to start thinking about the ways that they can work on different things for us. Does anybody have any other kind of comments or anything that they'd like to add? Yeah, Kisal, you have your hand up.
I have a question. So what do you mean exactly when you say gamification of psychology and related things?
So gamification of psychology, basically I'll share the kind of design that I have, which is that the psychology aspect is that to play as a psychiatrist, not to diagnose people. A lot of people think that like, oh, you want to make an application that diagnoses people. That's not something that I'm talking about. I just want to actually, I think the biggest problem in our society has been that I also get, I get a lot of calls, but not a lot of them translate into people. And the survey that I carried out online of, I think, maybe 380 people, and 95% of people were having some symptoms of mental issues, whether that was stress or it was worry or it was anger. And the fact was that like a good one third of them were just like, no, we are not going to go to anyone for help. We're just going to like either ignore it or, we're, yeah, I mean, so a good one third of the people are not even willing to explore asking someone else for help with their mental issues. And one of the reasons for that is stigma, right? And what will people say? Of course, then there's in our country, there's access to treatment, there's financial things, then there are cultural factors, especially for women, or relationship issues that they can't tell their parents that I have a relationship with someone, because it goes against the religion and the culture. So one of the things was to have some kind of an application that, my question was, sorry, I've confused it. That was the application, that was the mobile game, which was that people can have some access of self-care. When it comes to gamification of psychology, the idea was to play as a psychiatrist with NPC characters, so non-player characters, and they tell you about their different problems, and then you have to make the right verbal choices, kind of like in a visual novel, to make them start feeling better about themselves. And then the idea was that it's gonna, if you have a mental health problem, it's gonna make you feel like you're not alone. Look at all these other characters that have this. And for other people, the idea was to really gamify it such that people enjoy playing it, so it becomes more normal to talk about mental health. Or if someone wants to tell someone that maybe they can suggest that play this game, and then that can be like a conversation starter. So it was basically to reduce stigma, and the way you do it is to have the conversation and dialogue based games, so they make choices, and that helps teach them about psychology. Okay. So my internet connection was a bit unstable. Isal, has that answered your question?
Yep, thank you. I
We
got
can
that.
we can talk more about this. We can talk more
Yeah,
about this
I'll
later.
definitely. Yeah.
Is there anything that anyone else would like to add or comment? All right, then, fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for your time. And I hope that you'll join us for our next meeting. And until then, we'll make some content to share on our Facebook. So, we can start just sharing some articles and maybe sharing the links of the different chapters and their talks. And hopefully you guys can also increase your participation in the community around the world. All right.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye,
Thanks
everyone.
again.
Thank you for your time and everything. The information, it was awesome. New things learned.
All right. Bye.
Bye.